10 firearms, all legal under federal law, all restricted, banned, or under active legislative attack in multiple states. The gun, sitting at number 1, has been specifically named in more state legislation than any other civilian firearm manufactured in the last decade, and the reason reveals exactly what lawmakers fear about it. This list runs from controversial to genuinely alarming, and every entry is available to buy right now. That window does not stay open forever. Subscribe before this video ends. New content every week. Number 10. The Mossberg 590M. The Mossberg 590 has been one of the most trusted pump-action shotguns in American civilian and law enforcement use for decades. Nobody seriously argues against the standard 590 as a platform. The 590M is a different conversation. The M variant accepts detachable box magazines rather than the fixed tube magazine that defines every other pump shotgun on the market. That single engineering change transforms a platform legislators have largely left alone into one that triggers restriction laws in states where detachable magazines on long guns cross specific legal thresholds. The mechanical argument against it does not hold up. A pump-action shotgun is not meaningfully faster with a box magazine than a skilled shooter running a tube-fed gun. The rate of fire does not change. What changes is the optics. A detachable magazine on a shotgun looks different to a legislator writing a ban list, even when the functional difference is marginal. That appearance-driven logic is exactly why the 590M keeps appearing on state restriction lists, despite being a pump-action shotgun by every mechanical definition. Number 9. The Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. The M&P 1522 is a .22 long rifle rimfire rifle built to look and handle exactly like an AR-15. The purpose was training, a .22 that mimics the controls and ergonomics of a centerfire platform, allowing shooters to practice with significantly cheaper ammunition. It has been banned in multiple states, not because of what it fires, .22 long rifle, the least powerful common rifle cartridge on the market, but because of how it looks. A pistol grip, a telescoping stock, and a detachable magazine. Those three features in combination trigger assault weapons restrictions in states where those features define a banned firearm regardless of caliber or actual ballistic performance. The result is a .22 rimfire training rifle banned in the same states where much more powerful lever-action centerfire rifles remain entirely legal. The M&P 1522 is one of the clearest demonstrations of how feature-based restrictions pursue outcomes that have no relationship to the actual threat level of the firearm being targeted. Number 8. The Beretta CX-4 Storm. The CX-4 Storm looks like nothing else on the civilian market. Its futuristic polymer chassis and unconventional aesthetics have made it a recurring target for feature-based assault weapons restrictions in states where the law bans firearms that look a certain way. Mechanics tell a completely different story. The CX-4 Storm is a simple blowback 9mm carbine. It fires a handgun cartridge from a fixed barrel, and it delivers modest ballistic performance compared to any centerfire rifle round. It is not a particularly powerful firearm by any objective measure. What gets it banned in certain states is the appearance, the thumbhole stock, the integrated rail system, and the overall aesthetic that reads as military-derived to legislators writing feature lists. A lever-action rifle in the same caliber, firing the same round at the same velocity, remains entirely legal in those same jurisdictions. That comparison tells the whole story about what appearance-based legislation actually measures. Number 7. The Fostech Origin 12. The Origin 12 is a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun fed from detachable box magazines with a 5-round standard magazine and 10-round and 20-round extensions available. The combination of semi-automatic operation, 12-gauge chambering, and magazine feeding places it in a category that legislators find particularly alarming. It has been specifically named in legislation in several states because each of those features might survive scrutiny individually in certain jurisdictions. Together, they create a profile that has been directly addressed in state-level firearms bills. The gas system is engineered to run reliably across a broad range of loads, Historically, the primary technical challenge for semi-automatic shotguns, which represents genuine mechanical innovation. That innovation is entirely irrelevant to the legislative process targeting it. Subscribe before this video ends. New content every single week. Number 6. The Flux Raider. The Flux Raider is built to accept a Glock pistol as the action, converting it into a braced platform with a foregrip and extended sight radius. Rather than manufacturing a standalone serialized firearm, it builds around a handgun the buyer already owns. It exists in genuinely complicated legal territory at both the federal and state levels, depending on configuration and which ATF rulemaking is current. At the state level, it has been specifically named in legislation because it gives a Glock owner extended capability, better accuracy at distance, more control and improved handling without requiring an additional serialized firearm. That cleverness is precisely what draws regulatory attention. The controversy isn't about the Glock itself. It's about what the Glock becomes when a system like this wraps around it. Number 5. The Kel-Tec RDB. The RDB routes spent cases downward through the stock rather than ejecting to the side, which makes it genuinely ambidextrous in a way most bullpups are not. It runs 5.56 NATO from a full-length barrel in an overall package shorter than most AR pistols with braces. It delivers full rifle performance with shorter overall length and truly ambidextrous operation. In states with assault weapons restrictions, the RDB triggers feature-based bans through its configuration. In states with length restrictions, it sits at the edges of categories in ways that make compliance complicated. The downward ejection system is a genuine engineering solution to a real bullpup limitation that is completely irrelevant to legislators targeting the configuration it sits inside. Number 4. The Maxim Defense PDX. The PDX uses a proprietary buffer system that allows an AR pattern rifle to collapse to under 20 inches overall, while maintaining standard component compatibility. The barrel length in the most compact configuration is 5.5 inches. It runs standard AR magazines, accepts standard AR components, and operates on a direct impingement system. What separates the PDX from the crowded short-barrel AR market is how effectively the gas system runs at that barrel length, an engineering problem that most manufacturers solve poorly. Specific military and law enforcement units adopted it because it delivers a full-power intermediate cartridge in the shortest practical package. That adoption history creates legislative visibility. The argument follows a consistent pattern. If specialized units chose it, civilian access to the same capability is a threat worth restricting. Number 3. The Shadow Systems MR920. The MR920 is a Glock 19 compatible handgun built to tighter manufacturing tolerances than the factory pistol it is based on. It has a match-grade barrel, a flared magwell, and refined slide geometry. It accepts all Glock 19 magazines, holsters, and aftermarket components. It runs everything a Glock 19 runs. It appears on legislative target lists because it represents the premium end of the aftermarket Glock-compatible market, a segment that legislators have begun targeting specifically because it lets buyers obtain enhanced capability firearms from manufacturers outside the distribution agreements and dealer constraints that apply to Glock. In states where banned handgun lists target manufacturers rather than models, the MR920 falls outside the original ban's scope while serving the same market. That gap is what drives the next round of legislative updates. Number 2. The Fostech Echo AR2 Binary Trigger. The Echo AR2 is not a firearm. It is a trigger group that replaces the standard trigger in an AR pattern rifle. It fires one round on the pull and one round on the release of the trigger rather than only on the pull. That produces binary fire, 2 rounds per complete trigger cycle without any modification to the action or any reclassification of the firearm. It is legal under federal law. It does not convert a semi-automatic firearm to automatic fire, because each round still requires a distinct mechanical action. Despite that, it is banned in more than a dozen states because it produces a rate of fire that legislators find unacceptable from a semi-automatic platform, regardless of the technical distinction between binary fire and automatic fire. The Echo AR2's legal status changes frequently and varies significantly by state. It has been the subject of more state-level legislation per unit sold than almost any other aftermarket firearms component in the current market. The product exists where the federal legal standard and state legislative intent are moving in opposite directions, and that gap is narrowing. Number 1. The Polymer Odebod PF940C Build Kit. As shipped, the Polymer Odebod PF940C is not a firearm. It is an 80% complete polymer frame that, with additional machining using a provided jig, becomes the frame of a Glock 19 compatible handgun. The completed frame accepts standard Glock internals, barrel, slide gun, and magazines. The resulting firearm functions as a Glock 19. The controversy is traceability. A completed polymer 80 frame carries no serial number unless the builder adds one voluntarily. It cannot be traced through standard channels used to track commercially manufactured firearms. Law enforcement recovery events drove both state-level bans and the ATF's attempt to reclassify 80% receivers as firearms subject to serialization and background check requirements. Federal courts are still processing challenges to that rulemaking. More than 15 states have passed specific legislation restricting or banning 80% receiver kits and the completed firearms built from them. The legal status has changed multiple times in multiple jurisdictions over the past 3 years and continues to change. The Polymer PF940C sits at number 1, not because of ballistic performance. A completed build is functionally a Glock 19, but it is number 1 because it represents the most actively contested question in civilian firearms law right now. The right to manufacture a personal use firearm without government serialization is at the center of that dispute. That debate is unresolved, actively litigated, and moving faster than any other issue in the current firearms legal landscape. The window on this product category is more uncertain than anything else on this list. 10 firearms, all federally legal, all under active state-level pressure. The common thread is not ballistic performance or any objective measure of lethality. The common thread is that each one represents a capability legislators want to remove from civilian access, and the pace of restriction efforts is accelerating. Laws vary by state and change regularly. Verify the current legal status of any firearm in your jurisdiction before purchase. Subscribe for ongoing coverage of the firearms and legal landscape that mainstream coverage won't touch.